Hello everyone, this week's Parsha is Parshat Vayishlach. I'm basing this dvar Torah on a dvar Torah I heard from Rabbi Reingold last year. He's a Rabbi at the yeshiva in Silver Spring, Maryland, and he was visiting last year and speaking over Sudah Shlishit, so I wanted to share it with you because I really liked the idea. So he pays attention to a difference. There's a famous difference between Esav and Yaakov in the way they speak, in their perspective on life. That is to say, Yaakov sends gifts to Esav to appease him. Esav receives the gifts, and he's like, look, what do I need this for? Yeshli Rav. I have much. I have a lot. I have a lot of things. And Yaakov says, no, please accept it. Yeshli Kol. I have everything. So Esav says, I have much. Yeshli Rav. And Yaakov says, Yeshli Kol. I have everything. What is the difference between I have much and I have everything? What is the difference in those perspectives? So, as an introduction, Rabbi Reingold says, look, there's clearly value in possession. There's clearly value in owning things and ownership. Now the question is why? And before he even brings that, he says there's a very famous saying in Shas. Shas stands for Shishas Sidarim, like the 6 orders of the Mishnah, Shishas Sidrei Mishnah. Usually when you are referring to the Mishnah specifically, you say Shas Mishnayot. When you're just talking about, when you say Shas in general, then you generally mean the Gemara, like the Talmud, which is Mishnah and Gemara. So in Shas, there's a very famous concept of Hamotzi Mechavero Alav Hareaya. A person who wants to take money from someone else, Hamotzi Mechavero Alav Hareaya, needs to bring proof, right? So that's what's going on. So now, what's an example of this? If there are at least 2 examples, it's replete in Shas, but one in Bava Kama, Chav Zayin Amud Aleph, is the beginning of the 3rd parak. There are 2 terms that are used interchangeably in the Mishnah, which is a kad and a chavit. A kad is a jug, and a chavit is a barrel. Now, understandably, a chavit is much bigger than a jug. So what happens if you're in a city where they use kad and chavit interchangeably? And let's say I go to a seller and I say, hi, I want to buy a barrel of oil. I want to buy a chavit of oil. So we agree on a price, I pay for it, and then he delivers me a kad of oil, right? A jug of oil, smaller than I was expecting. Do I have a right to demand payment back, to get a refund? And the answer is no. Because you know that there are people who use the terms interchangeably, and even if there's a majority of people who speak like you, right? Ein holchin b'mammon achar harov. We don't follow majorities when it comes to monetary matters, and therefore, if I am trying to assert the fact that when I said chavit, I meant chavit, hamotzi mechavero alav haraya. I'm trying to get my money back. I need to bring proof. A different example in Gittin in the 5th parak is, let's say I go into someone's field, obviously not my own field, and I eat part of his produce. And let's say he has 2 types. He has worse quality and better quality. If I eat the worst quality, then I owe him the value of the worst quality fruit. What happens if they're all mixed up and we're not sure if I ate worse quality or better quality? If he tries to demand better quality from me, hamotzi mechavero alav haraya. Where does he think that he can charge me the higher quality just because we don't know? If he doesn't know, then he needs to bring proof of the fact that he can take more money out of me. So that's the idea. Hamotzi mechavero alav haraya. There's this concept of ownership of money. Possession is 9/10 of the law. Once you're in possession of the goods, of the money, then in order for someone to take it from you, you need to bring proof. And by the way, this idea is so ingrained in human thinking that amazingly there are only 3 places in Shas where a pasuk, a verse, is offered for proof, and it's just rejected because it's svara. This is one of these examples. This is say, and later on in Bava Kama, I can't remember if it's Memchet or Amud Nun, or Daf Nun, I don't remember. But we're trying to figure out, okay, so how do we know Hamotzi Mechaveru Alav Haraya is true? Where do we get that from? So there's an Amora who says, oh, here's a pasuk, and he brings a pasuk from Chumash. Rav Ashi responds and says, what are you talking about? Why do you need a pasuk? It's svara, right? You can just reason that way. It's understood that way. And seemingly the Gemara seems to accept that, which is amazing because you think, look, if you can get a verse to support what it is you're saying, then, you can't get better than that. But apparently you can. This concept of hamotzi mechavero alav haraya, if you want to take something, take ownership of something that is owned by somebody else, that someone else has in his hands, you need to bring proof. This is so ingrained in human thinking that you don't even need a verse for it. Wow. Okay, so now that we know that, what is so valuable about ownership? What is so important about ownership that there is this whole concept of Yeshli Rab and Yeshli Kol? Like, what is going on here? So this evidences itself, this importance of possession, in Yaakov's actions. What do we mean? If we're to go to chapter 22, chapter 22, verse 25, this is when Yaakov is fighting with the angel, Saro Shel Esav. So the pasuk says, "Vayivater Yaakov levado, vayavek ish imo ad alot hashachar." And Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the break of dawn. So it says, "Vayivater Yaakov, shachach pachim katanim v'chazer alehem." Right? He forgot small pots, so he went to go retrieve them. That's why Yaakov was alone. Now, Yaakov is a very wealthy man. By the way, both Esav and Yaakov are very wealthy men. So if Yaakov is so wealthy, what's he crossing the river and isolating himself and putting himself at risk to collect these small pots that have so little value compared to everything else he has? So the answer is, Yaakov understands that possession is meaningful, that owning things is meaningful, and to own things means that you're meant to put them to use, right? That is the difference in perspective between Yaakov and Esav, because when Esav talks, he says, Yesh li rav, I have much. And on this Rashi says, and he comments on Yesh li kol, he says, Esav says, I have more than I need. I have a lot. Because what's Esav's interest? He's interested in hoarding. He just wants to have, he wants to possess, he wants to accumulate goods. For what reason? He doesn't really need it. He just wants. He wants more. Whereas Yaakov, what's his perspective? Yesh li kol, I have everything. Everything for what? What do you mean everything? Everything to do what Yaakov is meant to do in this world. Whatever Yaakov has, he realizes there must be some purpose behind me owning this, and therefore I'm meant to put this to good use. That's Yaakov's perspective. So be it a lot, or be it a little bit, objectively speaking, subjectively, that's all Yaakov needs. I have only $100, then I'll use it properly the way God wants me to use it. I have $10 million, I'll also use it the way I meant to use it, in the proper way. But that's not Esav's perspective. Esav is just like, I have much, I have way more than I need. How could you have more than you need? What do you mean? Everything you have, you can use. But that's not Esav's perspective. Like, nothing he really has any particular purpose behind it. It's just, it's valueless. And there's no intrinsic meaning in any of his possessions. They have no intrinsic value. That is the perspective of Esav, as opposed to Yaakov, who crosses the river for this pachim katanim, because he says, if I have these small pots, there must be something I'm meant to use it for. So he needs to cross the river. He can't imagine going any other way. And this is a particularly powerful idea as we come up to Hanukkah, as we try to see what is the difference between the Jewish perspective and the perspective of Yavan, right, of Greece, and ultimately of Esav, of Rome, the current galus we're in. There's an idea of, now what do we want? We want things. We want to hoard things. We want to hoard wealth. Why? What do we want our material for? Either because we want to be more free with it, or, the overall perspective of this of Esav and Yavan is betterment, of bettering ourselves. Now the question is, bettering ourselves for what? So some people say, we better ourselves by being more free, or by being more wise, or being more wealthy. But the point is, there's no set idea here. There's no purpose behind what it is you have. There's some people who say, look, freedom is more important than having wealth. Other people will be like, look, I'd rather be wealthy and be slightly less free. Like, for example, there are some Jews who are left in South Africa. Now, no one's judging. We're just saying, that is not the greatest country to necessarily be in, because you're really stuck in terms of things you can do. I knew, some South Africans who said that when they were able to bring their kids to the United States, the fact that their kids could go biking on the roads was amazing to them, because they don't have that ability in South Africa because it's so dangerous. Now the thing is, so what do you want? What's bettering ourselves, right? Is it money? Is it wealth? Is it wisdom? Whatever it is. But the point is, the focus is always on ourselves. And that's not Yaakov's focus. Yaakov says, I have all of these things. I have all these assets. How am I meant to use these assets? And that is the difference in perspective between Yaakov and Esav, as brought about through this week's Parsha. Shabbat Shalom.